Hello knitters, Elena here from Knitting Confessions. Today I wanted to do an updated video tutorial on how to do a back ladder jacquard in anticipation of my newest cowl release, True North cowl. So let's get started. Back ladder jacquard, for those of you who don't know, is a technique used to catch floats in sections of colorwork knitting where you have really long sections where you're only using one yarn and you need to pick up your floats. So these beautiful little ladders that you see marching up here in this cowl on the inside are the back ladder jacquard stitches. And I just love how they look. It makes the work look very clean and tidy and prevents snagging, and you don't have to worry about trying to alternate where you're gonna catch floats. So this is the inside, and I just wanna show you, if I flip this around, this is the other, the right side, and as you can tell, it's really hard to see where the floats are. They're virtually invisible. It adds a little bit of bulk where the floats are. You can kind of see right here where it's puffed. There's a there's a float right there. But overall, it's a really great method, and I love it, and really recommend using it. It's really simple, although it can be a little tricky when you're first learning how to do it. So let's get started. So I'm going to start by showing you my pattern here. I write out where I put the jacquard, like where I'm going to do the catching of the floats, the back ladder. Not all designers do. It's just personal preference, but I find it's really handy for those who need a little extra help figuring it out. So like I said, this is my True North pattern, and as you can see, these blue lines are where I'm recommending knitters to place their floats. I like to do it every 5 to 7 stitches. You can do them even closer together or farther apart. Just be in mind of what type of garment you're planning on knitting. For things like sweaters, where the yarn can snag on the floats, you want them closer together, but in a cowl, especially when it's a tube and there's nothing for it to catch on, they can be much farther apart. I like every 5, so that's what's shown here. So the way that I like to do a back ladder jacquard involves three types of stitches. The setup is a make one purl left. The main part you'll be purling through the back loop, and then to finish it off you simply knit the 2 stitches together. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've already started some of the back ladder jacquard stitches just so that you can see what it looks like when you're in the middle of it, and then I also have some where we'll be starting it brand new. So we're going to start here on row 58. I like to use a little index card just to keep me up to date on where I am in the pattern. So I've got my second sample of my True North cowl, and in this, the white boxes are my main color, which is this lovely heather gray, and the dark gray stitches are the contrast color, which for me is this beautiful blue purple yarn. So I've already started, but I'm right at the beginning of the next repeat here. So first I'm going to knit 4 stitches using my contrast color. So this part's pretty boring, so I'm just going to knit 4 stitches, 3, 4, and then I'm going to knit 2 stitches in my main color, 1, 2, and then here we come up to our first make one left leaning purlwise. And so with the back ladder jacquard, it's important to remember you're always doing this with your non-working yarn, so the yarn that you want to carry behind. The other important thing is that you always want your working yarn in front. It always goes in front of your work when you're working these floats. So to do a make one left purl, for those of you who don't know how to do it, you take your 2 knitting needles and you hold them apart, and you can see there's a bar here, and that's the bar in between your previous rows 2 stitches, and so this is where we're going to be going into. So with your left hand needle, you're going to insert it front to back underneath this first bar here. So front to back onto your left hand needle. Remembering that your working yarn is in front of your work, you're going to pick up your non-working yarn, and we're going to purl through the back loop. So we bring our non-working yarn in front, and this is where it can get a little fiddly for some knitters. So I'm just going to show you here. So this is the stitch that we've picked up. If you turn your work, you can see the back side of the stitch. This is where we're going in with our right side needle. We're going to go in, back to front. Okay, and then we're going to purl. Oops. And then we're going to purl. Okay, you're going to then drop your yarn to the back, and you'll pick up using your working yarn. So I'm going to show you this again so that we all know where we're at. Okay, so here we are. We're doing a make one left leaning purlwise. So we take our left hand needle, we're going to go in front to back under the first bar. We're going to take our working yarn, we're going to bring it in front. We're going to take our non-working yarn, and we're going to purl through the back loop. So you're going to insert your right hand needle through the back loop of the stitch you just picked up, back to front. We're going to purl. We're going to drop our non-working yarn back behind. We're going to take our working yarn, and we're going to continue on our merry way. So now I'm going to knit 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you can see, we've now come to our already established back jacquard. So you can see it's this little blue stitch right here. So we're going to take our working yarn, we're going to bring it in front with our non-working yarn. We're going to take our right hand needle, insert it into the back, from back to front, purl, drop our non-working yarn, pick up our working yarn, and continue. So now we're knitting 5 more stitches in our main color. We've now come to our next established back jacquard stitch. So yarn, working yarn in front, picking up our non-working yarn, inserting our right hand needle, back to front, purling, dropping our non-working yarn, and continuing. So now we're going to knit 5 stitches, and then we're going to come up to our next make one left leaning purlwise. So we're going to knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to bring our working yarn in front, spread our needles apart. We see this bar right here, the very first one. If you want to make sure, you can always give it a tug and it will cinch this stitch, and that's how you know you've picked up the right one. So we're going to insert our left hand needle front to back under the first bar, making a yarn over stitch almost. We're going to pick up our non-working yarn, taking our right hand needle, we're going to insert the back from the back loop back to front, purl, drop our non-working yarn and continue with our working yarn. And it makes these lovely back kind of floats that are nice and loose, as you can see. So you don't want to pull it really tight when you're making them. You want there to be some room so that your tension's not off when you're knitting. So now here we are here. So 2 stitches in my main color, and then it's a total of how many? 7 stitches in the contrast. Two stitches of main color, and then we will be going into our next make 1 purlwise left leaning stitch. So 1, 2, and then we're going to bring our working yarn in front. We are going to spread our needles, go underneath the first bar with the left hand needle front to back, pick up our non-working yarn with our right hand needle. We are going to insert back to front through the back loop and purl. Drop our non-working yarn, pick up our working yarn and continue. So, and I'm just going to show you one more time how to do a established stitch. So here we are, our established stitch. We're going to bring our working yarn to the front, take our non-working yarn with the right hand needle, we're going to purl through the back loop and drop it, pick up our working yarn and continue. Now I want to show you why it's really important that you have your working yarn in the front and not in the back. So we're at our next jacquard stitch. So if I leave this in the back and I pick up my non-working yarn and I do my purl through the back loop, and then I continue going on my merry way, you can see now the stitch is visible. So it's no longer hidden the way it should be. You can see it. That's not good. So you always want to make sure that your working yarn is in the front, not the back, so that it doesn't show. So I'm not going to make you watch me knit all the way through to the end here, because we'd be on this video forever. But what I do want to show you is how we end it. So we are just going to jump ahead and we're going to pretend now that here we are. We're coming to the end, and all it is a simple purl 2. And I will show you what that looks like here. It's really easy. So you come up to your back ladder jacquard stitch. We're working in our working yarn, and all you have to do, it's really simple, is purl the 2 together. The end. And then you just keep going. And as you can see, it's tucked it back in there and it's locked it in place. So it's just hanging out with its new buddy, and that's really all there is to it. It's really easy. I really, really, really recommend that this for long floats. Again, different knitters do it different ways. Some knitters you'll see for their back ladder, how mine, oops, here we go. You see it's knit stitches. There are some knitters that do it where the side that you see are purl stitches. I personally like the knit stitches better. They just pull really nicely and they stretch well. So that's my preference, especially if it's a garment where you're gonna see the inside kind of guts of your work. I really like this version. I've tried them both and this is just my preferred. So I hope you all found this tutorial very helpful, and please keep an eye out for my new upcoming cowl design, True North. Happy knitting, everyone.